through this real quick. I was looking at Doge, and I just kind of wanted to put a little couple more specific things out about it because I do have there are two separate kind of areas I really could differentiate them. I think I was looking at this one. I can't remember which one I prefer. It's been kind of a while since I've taken a look at both of them. I kind of like both of them, but just some other things that are a little bit interesting also as well, because I do think both of these lines are respected. So we can actually just what we'll do is we'll take it from this one, and then I'll add something else. Just because I was going through it quick, and we'll kind of like dedicate a little bit more time to this. Um, the Ripple one was easy to go through because I've already went Ripple. People asked me multiple times about that, but I just wanted to add a little bit more to this because we do have a couple more areas that I do think are of importance, and we can kind of see, even though I think this area is pretty decent for what it was before, I think this is a pretty decent area between this also as well. I do think that we also should throw in this 368 sats here also as well. Now, I've liked both of these. Like I said, they only deviate so much. Both of them look really nice. A lot of the stuff I like is for the holes more so than anything else, but and I do think in that sense this is a little bit more important than the other line just because it's so close, and I don't think we're necessarily going to run into the same issue that we would with this line up here at 368. So let's add this real quick. We'll add this line over here at 368. Let's make sure we put it in the right spot. So 368, so we can get that level right there. And then let's add one more in, I think, that I did not catch. So I don't think I switched to the week time frame. So let's switch to the week time frame, and let's do this right here. And let's add week 375. Let's see, we can do 8 on second chart. Where are you? Ah, there we go. We want it to the right. If it's the middle, it's going to put it all the way here. So, okay. So just kind of looking at it here, we can see a little bit more and a little bit more of what we might want to see. So we talked about the other one, how on the day time frame, I thought this was somewhat of importance because, of course, we're going to have a day and we're already around here. And I think there's a decent chance just because this is the switch over for Bitcoin, because usually when Bitcoin switches over, it doesn't just shoot up, usually takes a little bit. So if we did expect it to shoot up later this week, we could expect, and I kind of referred to the other video, but if we do expect it to shoot up later this week or weekend, we could it could be, so we have what, Friday night we get our first. It could be like 2 to 3 days out. So it could be like Sunday, Monday. I'm assuming that the market goes up also. It might not go up immediately, which is a lot of times when you'll see a little bit more strength in these alts just because Bitcoin gets to a safe kind of checkpoint, but not to a launching point. So in that sense, there's no concern about it wrecking the Bitcoin price of some of these things. So, and also I wanted to bring out these targets because it is important to recognize some of these targets, because if Bitcoin does shoot up and it looks like Bitcoin's good, I think it's important to recognize some of these targets also as well, because it can hit them really quick and then just immediately turn the other direction depending on if Bitcoin's going to shoot up or shoot down. So that's always something to kind of note. So just to throw that in here, we have the week time frame up here at 386, 368, and then we have our two lines here at 344 and also 337. So there's a decent amount to gain here if we can get something nice and we can push all the way up. This is about 14% here. If Bitcoin holds some of its price, we can expect somewhere maybe from here. We have about a 20%. I think it's more likely to get sold down from here as instead of pushing up. It definitely could, though, and this would definitely be something of note. I really like this average for what it is. I like how it cuts through. I remember I had it somewhere around here. I put it on or something like that. But I think it's really, really important. I think it's really huge for some of this because though Doge to Bitcoin can get a decent amount of value and maybe it can push up through stuff, this could indicate maybe Bitcoin could go up quite a bit, something of that manner. And I think kind of the importance here is just looking at Doge to Bitcoin, regardless of what Bitcoin or anything else would do. Being able to reach this spot looks really, really nice for what it is. And then we have something up here that we can target, but these are like really huge gains. And let's kind of check some of these. Let's actually go through. Let me do this. Let's actually go through and let's check some of these levels and kind of what it's doing. And let's we looked at the Bitcoin one, but let's leave this one here. So this is what the 4-hour 200, and just to show some of these lines, they're pretty good for what they are. I mean, it, like, depends. You have a big wick up, you should be careful about at least what the trend is coming back down on this. I don't remember what happened August 9th. Something could have happened here also as well. There's always context, but we can see more or less. These are pretty good. I'm not going to go back that far, but pretty good areas. I just wanted to show the 4 hour real quick, and maybe I'll show the 12 and stuff like that. So we can see the 4 hour here. This looks really nice on the 2 hour, what it's doing. I don't know if this will give it enough strength to push into the 4 hours. So like if this was a 4 and this was a 2, I would generally expect this to beat it, right? So 2 hour 200, we can see this here. It looks nice, right? We can see it's pretty determinate on a lot of these things. Obviously, there's always other things there, but it gives you a really decent idea about some of this stuff. Okay, 1, nothing special up. So we have a 2, 4. Okay, I usually prefer it when it's like lower, like if this was a day, and like usually you want to see the strongest like a week day, then push into the lower ones because it just means you have a stronger base essentially. So let's see what's kind of going on here. I don't think we have anything until all the way up here, which is really nice from that perspective. So 12 hour, what is this? 200. Where's our day 200? Even higher. So we can just see there's a lot of averages up here, which is really nice. I don't even know where our week would be. I feel like it has to be lower, right? We don't have 200 weeks on this? Oh, it's Doge to the dollar. No wonder it's not Doge to Bitcoin. Okay, okay, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Okay. Okay, let's see. Do we have really anything else? Is it all really just under us? I'm surprised. Let me do this real quick. I'm actually just really surprised. You don't usually see it like this, where every average is. Whoops. Okay, it's up there. We already saw the 4, the 2. Yeah, so I really like this for what it is so far. Just the sheer kind of volume or the sheer difference in price between some of these areas is really nice. So I think what we can use, look at this so far right now. What I'm really liking about this is so far I think this is pretty decent. I mean, it's pretty high, but it's okay that it came down a little bit, switched over. I think this is okay for what it is. What I'd like to see for another stacking on point possibly would be if we can get a 4 hour start above here. I think we're going to see some similarities with this. Oh, is this just Bitcoin shooting up? Let me see. I don't remember what time frame I was looking at this at. Okay, no, we're still in this 33 for 334 range. I just didn't look at this on the 4 hour or whatever. So I was just like, wait a second. How does it look like we're so high up yet? Um, like this just looked really bad to me. I was like, wait a second, this looks like really, really bad. Like well, this is just weird also because how we ended here and then we started here somehow. So it just, I guess the next trade that happened was there was just 1% of volume in between here. Anyway, so I really, yeah, but how is this going up? Because this is pushing up. Is Bitcoin already pushing up? It's not pushing up that much. Okay. Maybe it's just such small amounts that I'm like, huh, what's 1% on this? Let me see. What did this even move up? 0.6? Uh, okay. So Bitcoin did push up a little bit. I mean, I expected it to push up. It only needs to be at 8,945 by the end of the day to look nice. So I just thought I don't know. It's the numbers mess me up sometimes. I thought this was like 19,100 or 200 by now. I was like, that's what it would have meant to push us up. Anyway, so I really like this. I like this bounce spot. I think the next kind of entry point would be Bitcoin or Doge ending a 4 hour somewhere above here around, what is this at? 0.06612. This looks really great for another launch point. But as a base, we're under, slightly higher, ugly as heck. I'm going to be honest, ugly as heck. I don't like buying this here. I don't think it was a really amazing idea to buy it here. Now, if someone was going to buy it because of the Bitcoin value, I could kind of see it, but I really at its face value, I don't really agree. I really don't agree with a lot of buying based off of the dollar, based off of what we see with Bitcoin, the dollar. Now, Bitcoin or Doge to the dollar. Now, Doge to Bitcoin, we can see, of course, it looks really good on a lot of these other time frames, specifically here where we fall through, we come back above, we wait for it, and we get this purchase at 291. To me, this is great. This has already done what it's done. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't come back and doesn't end above, which is why I think this is of some importance if it is able to, because one, Bitcoin looks decent and it's already made a big move, but it could make another really big extended move from this also as well. And it also could indicate if we could push somewhere up to here, we could take huge losses with Bitcoin coming up, or not huge losses to Bitcoin value, but not the USD value. But if we were able to reach these places, what I really like is the idea that even if Bitcoin goes up, we goes down 6 point whatever percent, we can still bounce in these areas and kind of maintain this and push up. So if we look overall, I mean, the structure of it has been doing pretty well, and it looks like it can be pretty nice. We have this change in direction. We do have a higher high here with a lower low. So I think this has a pretty decent chance, in my opinion, of pushing up here and connecting. So I really like this. I'm not completely sure why this had to fall through here, because if it bounced here, this would have been probably would have looked a lot more proper anyway. I only think the bounce point or the buy-in spot or the switchover spot would have been here. I don't like this being lower. It seems weird. If they just bought it here in the first place, then we would have had a lower high. As we can see, we would have had a lower high here anyway and look good to push up. So um, I don't really understand what the point of that is whatsoever, but that's a thing. So we're still looking for this. We're still looking for that 337. But just to kind of look at this in a sense and what it could do, that it really has a lot of free space. It has this 2 here that looks really great. It's going to have to prove itself at the 4, so I think that's kind of the more determining factor with what we have here. But the next thing we have is a 12, and the 12's all the way up here. So from that perspective, I don't really see a lot to rip this down if it can beat uh point zero what I can't see what it is, 0.06 612. And then, we have our fib level up here, so we could see some selling here, we could see some selling here. But then we're looking at this point, up anywhere almost 15%, up to 20%. That would coincide with some of the increases with Doge to Bitcoin, but not all. Some of this would really have to come from the dollar itself just pushing up as opposed to Doge to Bitcoin. Unless Doge to Bitcoin somehow rips through everything, that seems a little bit less likely. I think it would have to be a fine mix between Doge to Bitcoin moving up and maintaining its price against Bitcoin moving up if we do see something like that. So it's just something to look for. I don't know if it will happen, but it's something to look for. And then we look up here, we're looking up to a 37%. But as opposed to what we were looking up to here, it's a little bit different. This does give us a higher high if we did come back to it, which would be nice locally anyway. But what would be nice is that we will be at this point very high up. We'll see how we come back down into this. But I think the structure, either we have a nice little bit of push up from here into this area, or maybe for some reason we'll have to see. I think it'll be kind of obvious the closer we get what the causes would be if it did push up. But even if it did, let's say, like push up and hit this, maybe we get something that, or something like under, and then a nice position back if it came back on top. So I do think this would be quite a determining factor for it. Um, it really depends, but I could see something like this happen. But it's pretty interesting for what it is, and it looks really nice. I just really like the fact that from Doge to Bitcoin anyway, I don't like any of this stuff. I really, really, really don't. It doesn't look good on the 12 hour. It doesn't look good on the daytime. Like nothing looks good to buy here. Like none of this look good to buy. I'm gonna be honest. None of this look good to buy. And I'm not surprised because we bounced here. We bounced here, right? Even when we came back up, we can see here on Doge. Look at the resistance. You know, it's pretty crazy it popped up here, but look at the resistance. And what did we do when we came up? We came back down and boom, found support. So on this initial push up, 1, 2, almost like this is slightly under, but it's practically like 3 perfect hits to push up, and it still came back down. So this just looked horrible. But it has a lot of potential, and if we want to ignore the averages and the fact that it looked horrible for a second, it's also a lower low than what we've had in a lot of these places. So for the idea of a lot of people probably getting wrecked out of positions and possibly wanting to switch back into it, I think there's a really, really huge chance for this. So we'll see what happens. I don't think we're there yet. I'd really like to see it at the 4 hour. We do have the 2 here. So, kind of like put an alert a little bit before here. I think you can also do vertical lines, I believe, and put alerts on those if possible. So could always do something. I mean, it really just depends. It might actually be easier to do like a horizontal ray. So we can say this by this time, and then, vertical is probably the best. But what you can do there, I've had it not work sometimes, so it's always good to be careful. But you can do like that just, or you could just check every 2 hours, just have an alert here so you know when it hits or slightly before. And what also can be done is just checking. Like if we're looking for, I'm sorry, every four. Two is nice also. You can always see something, but preferably something on a 4 hour time frame because this is a 4 hour 200 that I usually like to see at least the same time frame start and push up. If it's a really huge trend, you can see even like 5 minutes or 15 minutes, if it's a huge trend coming under it. I just don't think the structure of this is really that beautiful to necessarily warrant that. So I do think we'll see two or probably a 4 hour. And remember, every other 2 hour is a 4 hour, right? So either like a 2 or 4 hour if we see above this, and it really looks like there's a lot to gain here. Seems like there really, really, really is a lot. We have Bitcoin at 19.4. We could see that there is this nice trend already. It's already doing okay. It's not too high up. It can come back under this. I don't want to see it start under. I don't like that at all. Let's do this. We can see it start under. This is where it's going to be at 18,934. My bad. I think I said 45 earlier. This thing even can come down here and still push up through it. So there's a lot of stuff here. Very strong support, very strong line that we're cutting through that we look like we're going to start above. A little bit of leeway if it really does want to come down under, and a big reason for it to shoot up pretty decent amount. Now it has a decent amount to fight when we look in these areas. I don't want to go over this too much because we kind of looked at it in the other video, but this is a little bit nice in the sense because we don't really want something that's just going to shoot up because that's generally going to be a lot tougher for things. Like when we saw Ripple here, Ripple got wrecked. Ripple didn't benefit. It was about to break out to Bitcoin. So Ripple didn't benefit whatsoever at all here. So that's always something to kind of keep in mind in a sense. And that's why I always like the two Bitcoin pairs for a lot of this stuff because a lot of the times you'll see it hit certain targets and when stuff shoots up. Like it's possible that if we do see something strong for Doge, we do see something here. We can see a day end above here tomorrow. Maybe we can see something here on a shorter time frame. This can push up. Maybe our like Saturday this happens, and then maybe Sunday or something like that. Bitcoin shoots up at the same time this hits it, and then this comes down. I think that would be most optimal for Doge because if it really needs to get these gains from where it is, if we're looking at like 20 to 40%, it's not getting these on its own. It's going to have to do a lot of work up, and so I think that's already kind of clear here. So Bitcoin's going to have to regain a decent amount from where it is because if we're looking at Doge going up like 40, 50%, I mean, if Bitcoin doesn't go up, this is 40% right here. So I think it's more reasonable to say like maybe 30%, and then if Bitcoin goes up like 10% or whatnot, we can maybe somehow, will that even do it? Because then Bitcoin, that would go up 30. Well, you'd have to see something quite a bit. I don't know. It'll be crazy if we do see something, but I think this could definitely be the start of it if possible. I just wanted to get this out. I haven't really looked at Doge much in a while. I have looked at Doge to the dollar, and I did think, man, this looks like crap. This looks like crap. And I don't think I was wrong. I think 100% this looked horrible. Just because something goes up, does because something looks horrible doesn't mean it can't go up, right? But I really like where it is now. I like how it broke out through all this stuff. I like this. This is somewhat acceptable, and I really like how it started here on the 200, on the 2 hour, and I like how the 4 hour is right up here. Now the 4 hour is going to be more resistant, so it's going to be a little tougher to get past there, and the likelihood of it getting past here is fairly unlikely at this time. Not unlikely. I think it's okay, but like with the averages, it's not super likely yet just because of 2 hours here, but because we did fall under this in this kind of sketch zone and reversed in a fairly nice trend for what it is, slightly lower, higher, low. I think this has a fairly decent chance. I would say at least 60 to 70%, I believe. So we'll see what happened. I just kind of wanted to put this out just to talk about a little bit of this, a little bit more in depth and kind of look at it in a couple different ways, showing some different targets and some things I can see. So from its USD value, I could easily see this going up from here. This 4%, I could see this 20%, and this is going to be really tough to get past. So I think it's a lot more unlikely we'll see anything for here now. But this is just also something to look at. I think this is a decent trend line for what it is, and I think it's very reflective. So if we can really get above 75 cents and really like above 80 cents, so maybe going from 75 to 80 cents, I think there's a great chance to attack this 12-hour here at 90 cents and maybe try to push all the way back up and gain, right, everything that was lost. Okay, take care, y'all. Have a good weekend. Peace.